This is the Connect Run Club podcast. Learn from beginner and expert runners alike as they share their struggles and accomplishments. Whether you're training for a 5K or an ultra marathon or anything in between, we want to help you reach your goal by running connected.
All right, we want to welcome you guys to the Connect Run Club podcast, the December edition. I am in the studio today with Trey. If you guys are watching us live or with a replay, we are actually in the same place. So this is my hand. Right. Ooh. So if you see me look up, I'm looking at Trey. I know we've had some questions about that before, but we are both here live, and Trey, I was making sure everything's working because we are recording this live with Blab, which has been a lot of fun. Yep, so have you had fun using this? This has been a big update, I'd say, of the last month.
It has. And in fact, I believe it has made, in my opinion, it's made our interviews better. It's one thing to talk on the phone or talk via Skype to someone, but be able to see their face and interact with them, it makes it more conversational. So I really enjoy these.
Have you had a favorite interview recently? A little teaser, because I think all the ones we've done are coming out next year.
What are some of the ones we've had recently? I'm trying to remember.
I know you have a big favorite coming up later.
I have a big favorite coming up, and if you're listening live in just a couple of hours, Dina Castor is going to be at the top of that. So yes, it's going to be hard to beat that one. So
yeah, Dina will be she'll be a great one. We're looking forward to that one. I'm trying to see.
Just in, Dina Castor is fast. If you were curious at all, she's fast.
Yeah, she's very fast. So you want to check that out. That is at 4:15. If you guys are listening right now, we'll be back on later with her on Blab. And I see, actually, we are recording this live, and she was on a second ago, but we had Robin from HSMS, and so she does clothing, which is a lot of fun. Oh, and you can see her studio, which is fun because it's with the webcam.
Oh, that's great.
But anyway, if you guys want to check out what we've been doing, go to Connect Run Club /live. But that is not what we're here for. We want to dive right into our December news edition. When we record this is December 21st, so it's not the end of December yet. But I'm driving to Mississippi tomorrow. Trey's not at work tomorrow, so we're both out until the new year. But we want to jump into our news. So we've got 5 articles. And this is all courtesy of the rundown. Trey, do you want to give them? If you haven't checked it out, Trey's gonna give you an idea of what the rundown is.
Yeah, this is a great resource. I would highly recommend you go to connectrunclub.com and check this out. Here's what it is. Me and Brandon, we scour the internet, or we scour our news sources, and each week we try and pick some of the stories that are most interesting to us that we think would be most interesting to you. And so what we do is we find those stories and we put them all in one location. So the rundown actually comes out every Friday.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. And so we have some really cool news stories on there. And in fact, we had a story the other day where it was the Taiwan Marathon that hired some actresses to scare the runners into PRs, and actually had a lot of runners had PRs that day. So
yeah, I forget what movie. Did we say? I think it was The Grudge.
I think that's it.
Yeah,
it was Grudge.
This is creepy.
So it was the pictures are very creepy, but yeah, it is so if you're looking for, if you don't have a chance to scour the internet for some running stories, and and this today, we're going to talk about a story that will give you a good enough reason to sign up for the rundown, because you're talking about helping you save money on shoes today. So, we have stories like that will help you every week. So I highly recommend you go sign up for the rundown. Again, it comes out once a week, so we're not going to bombard your inbox with mail. It comes out once a week, and you'll get some of the most relevant news articles out there. So again, you don't have to worry about scouring the news every week. We'll do that for you. So
yes, so go to connectrunclub.com/rundown, or if you just go to connectrunclub.com, the link's right at the top. Free to sign up, and we are on, I believe, issue number 6. By the time this goes out, we'll have a couple more coming out, so you guys can check out our latest issue as well as the archives. And so we are going to go ahead and jump right on into the news articles. I've been playing around with the little sound effect board, and I was telling Trey I wish I had like a number 1, number 2 news article, but I don't have that.
Would you like me to do that for you today?
You can, but
number 1
with Christmas bells.
With Christmas bells.
Yeah, there we go. So that's just for you guys. Christmas time. I'm not sure if that's going to make it into the podcast if I did it right, but we'll find out. It's on Blab though, if you check it out.
There you go.
So this is very pertinent to what we do with our races. So we do Chick-fil-A Race Series. And so we get this question a lot. It is why your GPS watch is probably overestimating your mileage from Runner's World. And they write at the beginning, it's frustrated when your GPS watch displays a distance slightly longer than the race you signed up for at the finish of a precisely measured course. The error could be caused by a few factors. You may have taken some corners at a wide angle, had to weave around other runners, or dashed into the woods for an emergency bathroom break. I've done that. But according to a new study from researchers in Austria and the Netherlands, even without all these variables, your GPS watch is likely overestimating how far you run. So Trey, do you run too far? What do you think?
Yeah, here's the thing. It's very interesting. And this is where I have actually seen people at races, and whether it's our races or other races, and they make a big deal of this. And it's always interesting to me. And Brandon, I'd like for you to just give our listeners in a couple of minutes a snapshot of what it takes to certify a course. Trust me, when a course is certified, the course is correct. And the course is certified based on the shortest distance around it. It is virtually impossible to run the shortest distance around a race, but that's how it's certified. And that is a big reason when I run a race, to me, what I run that day, I like to compare course to course. So I will, like when I do a marathon, I mean, yes, I want to qualify or I want my time, but ultimately I'm comparing that Disney course to the last year's Disney course, because you can only go course by course. It's really hard with you doing a 5K, 10K, half marathon. Your distance is going to be off. There's no doubt about it. In fact, I know this, I don't even want to tell you why, but there have been occasions where I've had two different GPSs with me. Don't ask why, but both of them have said something different by like 0.3 or 0.4 of a mile. And so there, Brandon, can you give us a little snapshot? Just don't go into a ton of detail, but give us a quick snapshot of what it looks like and how we know course measurements are accurate when we certify them.
Yeah, so if it's an officially USATF sanctioned course, that means it's gone through a certification process and it's been approved by a state certifier. And so there's actually someone over each state that checks off on the maps that are created. So I have personally never certified a course, but I've worked with someone on our team who learned how to do it. And so I kind of walked through the process with them, but it's pretty crazy. They have to ride the course. I think it's 3 different times with the map, and you do shortest distance. So if you guys are coming around a turn, and it's going to take the shortest distance through the turns. Just like if you're like a race car driver, it's going to take the shortest route. So even if you guys are running on the outside, that may not seem like much, but if you especially do it over like a half marathon, that makes a pretty big difference. But they do it 3 different times, 3 different measurements, and average it. But I mean, they're taking into account things like the weather, like they have a metal tape that they use, and they measure the metal tape before and after they do it, just because of the change in like the temperature and things that happen there. They actually use a bike. If you've wondered, so there's a little thing called a Jones counter on the back wheel of the bike. And so it clicks off as you go, and that's how they know the distance. So it's basically like a big, I don't know what you call it, the little roller things.
Yeah.
They use that. And then, so they have the crazy maps, and you can actually, if you go to USATF.com, you just look for certification maps, you can see the actual map that certified courses are to. So and the cool part about certified courses are, we've got this question too. They aren't specific to the race. They're just a different route. So actually different races can use the same course because there's a lot of work and it costs a lot of money to get a course certified. So you might see a race that's the same course, but it's a different event. And that's because it's open to the public to use.
Yeah, and if you think about some of the big city races, I mean, just look at the Peachtree. You 6.2 miles, and that's like 5 to 6 lanes of road. So imagine the difference in distance that you can get. And let's speak real quick into what happens with your GPS. In Brandon, you might get more technical, but essentially what it's doing is measuring you from point to point. And so it's measuring you from the shortest point to the shortest point. And so a lot of times it may miss you. Like I've taken a look at mine after a run, like I've gone on the track and it looks like I run in a box or a square or not a circle. And so a lot of times it's missing that mileage that I'm running.
Yeah, so you might be doing some sharp turns, especially if you're doing trail runs, and it's doing point to point, and it's missing some of the distance that you're doing, or you're actually going shorter than it thinks you're doing because you've already made a turn. But yeah, GPS is crazy. I forget the comedian where he talks about folks complaining about technology and I think cell phones, and he's like, it's going to space and it's coming back from space. So it's the same thing with GPS. There's satellites up in space, signals going up, come back down, but they're not accurate to your exact position. There's other satellites that get a little bit closer. So there's some margin of error there that adds on to it as well. And like you said, GPSs are different depending on brand as well as just your connection. So you guys may be running through some trees or through some buildings, and it's going to drop your signal, which is going to affect it too. So moral of the story is trust the certifiers, especially if it's certified. If it's not certified, that's definitely something to warrant. And another piece to certification, all your courses are going to be long. That's actually a margin of error that they require you to put. So if you run one of our 5Ks and you look at the certification map, it's not going to be 3.1. I forget the margin, but it's a little bit more. And that's just in case you're super fast and set a world record. And they want to make sure that record is legit. And so since you're on a certified course, you're going to have a little bit of margin of error on there. So it actually is long. And that's because they make it long.
So next time you're at a race, please cut your race director a little slack. Trust me, I can assure you. Hey, now there have been courses where this been cut off or there's been some problems, but for the most part, if you're within, they even say, and this will shock if you're running a marathon, it's not usually this way, but on some of those GPSs, you could be looking at, even a couple % off from my understanding.
Like, so I think mine was like over half mile off when I did a marathon. Yeah. And I was like, whatever.
That's about right.
But if you guys are watching the mile markers as you go, you'll notice they start getting further and further apart.
Yeah.
Unless it's like when you did Savannah and they just stopped. So
or they could just stop you.
Or they could just stop you. Okay.
That's correct.
That was from November. If you guys want to check that, what we're talking about. So moving right along. This is from Running Magazine. Arguments against common winter excuses not to run. This is really, this spoke to me. So during this time of year, it's a lot easier to think of a long list of excuses not to run rather than putting on the gear and getting out there in the cold. Luckily, it's also easy to shoot down the arguments not to run. If you're trying to validate lounging on the couch instead of getting in the workout, we've prepared to give you a rebuttal to the most common excuses. So Trey, which of these excuses, and if you guys read on, there's a bunch of ones that they give, but what are some of the common ones that you hear when you're coaching folks?
I would say the most common is probably it's too cold out. And that's probably the most common to me. And here's what I like about this article too. Did you know it's not just Running Magazine, but it's Running Magazine Canada?
Yeah.
So the Canadians are like, look, you softies,
they're like,
get out
like
that
we're
house.
doing this all the time. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd imagine that's it. And to me, I have some limitations, but they're very few because look, depending upon where you live, if it's in the 20s, I'm running. If it's lower than getting lower than the 20s, now we're in Georgia, mind you. So it's not getting,
that's like the end of the world.
Yeah. That's like, it's a news headline.
People aren't running. They're dying.
Yes. They're even telling you, hey, pull your pets in the house. We're like, yeah, we get that.
Yeah.
It's cold out. We get that. But that's probably the biggest thing in reality is, you're usually shocked at what type of clothing you need. It's like I had a long run this past Saturday, and I mean it was 30 degrees at the start, and it was windy, but it was bearable. I think that's probably the big thing for me. Now I tell you what, here's what it is for me. If it's cold and raining, oh my goodness, it's like if it's in the mid 30s and raining. I mean that's almost to me like, okay, I'm going to go find a treadmill.
I hate that. Now, I would rather it be below freezing and raining because it's snowing.
Yeah, so, I completely agree.
Yeah,
I'd be okay running the snow. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's just not fun. But yeah, they go through a bunch of different things from what to do, how to not slip. I just saw they have a GIF of a girl falling down.
It is the most classic. Hey, look, it is. If you haven't seen
I had
this,
not seen that before. That's really funny.
You need to go Google this article, this story, because it is the most watched, got to be clip I've ever seen on YouTube of running.
Just eats it.
Do you know the worst part is they're getting interviewed, okay? And you know what she says? Oh no, these are perfect conditions for running. I'm telling you, that's what she says, and then she takes off, and then she falls on her back. She just said it's perfect conditions for running. So, folks, you at least need to go to this article and see this GIF, and then go look up the story because it is one of those classic stories. She says, "Oh no, these are perfect running conditions for running."
Did they say it just like that?
Yes, she's like, these are perfect. They're asking her, "Hey, would you run stuff like this?" She's like, "Oh yeah, these are perfect running conditions."
So good.
And then as soon as she says that, she's like, they take off and then she eats it, and it's just classic.
Guys, if you're watching this live, I just learned you can paste GIFs into the comments in Blab, and so we just put that in there for you guys so you can watch her fall as we talk. So you don't want to slip. A bunch of different things, some great tips, what to do in the dark, what to do when it's too cold, and what to do when it's snowing.
That's perfect.
For me, it's almost like a mindset thing because like you get ready for how cold it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like I used to think, hey, running below 32 degrees is like I would never do that. Like I'm not going outside. I'm from Georgia, grew up in Mississippi, went to school in Atlanta. No way am I going outside. But then sometimes I go to Colorado with my parents in like December, January to go skiing. And like if it's 30 degrees, like you're kind of mad because it's too hot because you're wearing so much stuff. And it feels great if it's like 0 or below. Yeah. And so like I remember being out there at like -20 wind chill or -30 and still pretty good because you're prepared for the clothes, like out there all day. And so it's almost like a mindset thing. You're going to wear what you need to wear and go out there.
Yeah. Cause I mean, even Saturday in my run, it never got out of the 30s, but I'm telling you, I probably wore too much because I was drenched at the end and that's awful. So yeah.
Not fun at all.
Nope.
So get out and run. And if you guys are anywhere like we are right now, it's 80 degrees on Christmas. We're going to be. So
gracious. Yes. It's crazy.
It's not cold. Just get outside. All right. So this is a really interesting article. This comes from Outside Online. It says why your gear is so expensive. And this is a quote that I'm taking, I believe, from the end. They're saying, in other words, paying a little more for better synthetic down today allows a company to develop a better wicking material tomorrow. And in most cases, the top of the line technology that you pay a premium for this year will trickle down into lower priced garments next year. They give an example. They talk about shoes with Nike, but they're talking about this Columbia jacket, which I'm guessing they probably paid them some money to mention. Yeah. Columbia's new Out Dry Extreme Diamond Shell has all kinds of proprietary bells and whistles and goes for $400. Next year, you might get it a little cheaper. Either way, I'm totally willing to pay the price if it has thumb holes. And thumb holes is part of the how they started off. Yeah. But their kind of whole premise is you're paying more for your gear because you're paying for future R&D. So how did you take that when you reading through it?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. And it makes sense because you never think about what's going into the latest and greatest technology. And the other thing, I think we talked about this the other day, me and you just personally, is that I'm usually okay with it. And one reason I'm okay with it is because of the longevity that a lot of these clothes have. I can think of whether it's shorts or whether it's jackets or whether it's shirts. You get some of these things and they last for just about forever. I've got a jacket that I run in from time to time. I mean, I've had this jacket for years and it holds up. So, hey, my big thing is if you were charging me a ton of money for merchandise that I'm going to have to replace again in a year or two, then I mean, like, ugh. But man, the way these last, I'm like, I feel like I'm okay with it because you only have to. How many running jackets do you need, or how many outer layers do you need? So it's like once you get it, I think you can maintain it for quite some time.
Yeah, so things are a little bit more expensive because you're paying for future development and some of the cool things coming out. Again, the link to all of these articles, if you guys go to connectrunclub.com/rundown, you'll check those out. So moving right along, this actually has to do with the prices. So things are expensive. It's crazy. They say running doesn't cost a lot, but somehow you spend a lot of money, even though you're just going outside and running. But one of the cool sites I found, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, they coin it as find the internet's best prices on running shoes. And it's called shoekicker.com. So imagine if there was a Google just for shoes. And so you type in what shoe, your brand, your model, then it's going to search the entire internet and give you the best deal on any site, which is actually really cool. I'd never heard of it before, but I saw several people talking about it. So I thought we would do a fun test for you, Trey.
Let's do it.
Give me, did you ask for, you don't ask for shoes for Christmas, do you?
I did last year, but I haven't asked for these this year, but you know what I want.
What's that?
We've talked about it.
The Hoka?
The Hoka Speed Goat. So I don't know if they have that in here yet, but.
Okay, I'm typing it in. So I'm doing this live and you can't see this. Maybe in the future, there'll be a screen share, but I'm looking up Hoka Speed Goat, you said?
Yep.
Speed Goat is there. Ooh. What's a Mafate Speed?
Yeah, I have seen that.
What size shoe do you wear?
13.
13 is
Sorry about that.
Big shoes.
Big shoes.
All right. So literally when you're on the site, it says shoe kicker beta, whatever. Type in your shoe. It has a little drop down and then you're putting in your size and then men or women's. And then it says, show me the best prices. So just did all that for the Hoka One Speed Goat.
It's a new shoe, so it's going to be hard.
Yeah, maybe we'll try one that isn't as new. But anyway, it gives us a price of $139.95.
Yeah, that hurts.
Which is actually just 5 cents less than the top price of $140. But what's kind of cool is that is from Road Runner Sports, which I didn't even know was a thing. It gives you Kelly's Running Warehouse, another Running Warehouse, and then Zappos. So it gives you all the different spots, and then you can get it now. Another cool thing, it's kind of like if you use what's the travel site? Oh shoot, Kayak.
Kayak, yeah.
You can do price alerts. So right now you could create a price alert.
Really?
And so it could tell you, let's see. Yeah. It'll tell you if it goes lower than what it is right now.
Oh, that's
so
pretty
you
cool.
could,
I
know
like that.
you get shoes all the time.
Yep.
So you can just put in the shoes that you want and get going.
Yeah, and that's what I do. In fact, I mean, I usually buy shoes in bulk because once I find the price I like, so this is very helpful. Once you find the price you like, I'll load up on them.
So I'm going to do a different one to see if we can get a little bit more results. I'm going to do the Pegasus because it's been around forever. And I'm going to do my size, which is 10. And see what it gives me. Since that was a newer shoe. All right, so the Nike Pegasus size 10 for $69.98 from Finish Line. But it's given me 12 different places that it's for sale at. A bunch of them I've never heard before. So really cool site. Check it out, shoekicker.com, or you can go to the link on the rundown. So
see, folks, we just saved you money right there.
We saved you some money, so it pays to listen. And the price alerts, which I did not realize until we started doing this right now, really cool. So you can set some alerts. I'm going to do that for myself.
Shoe Kicker.
All right, so the last article that we're going to talk about today for December news is how much running can you safely do when returning from an injury? And this is from runnersconnect.net. They actually do some really cool online training stuff. I encourage you guys to check them out. But they write, it's hard to tell how quickly you can come back from an injury. Should you wait until all of the pain subsides completely, or is it okay to do some easy running when you still have a bit of soreness? These are difficult questions to answer because getting it wrong can prove to be a big setback. Nevertheless, it's very important to know full recovery from some chronic injuries can take months, but often runners can get away with doing some running while their injury improves. Exactly how much can you get away with has remained a mystery. Fortunately, some new scientific research has investigated how much pain is acceptable during injury recovery. So, Trey, we did a survey. We asked our runners what they struggle with in injury, especially coming back from injury once you've gotten hurt, was a huge one. Yeah. So I think this definitely applies straight to them. What was kind of your take?
Yeah, I agree. And there's a couple different components here. I think people overreact in a couple of different ways. I'll just give you for instance, I trained for a marathon with shin splints once. And so
that sounds horrible.
It was painful, but you know what I did? And in fact, I was talking to a mutual friend of ours this morning who's suffering from an ankle problem right this minute. And one of the things that I was telling him was that, you have to concentrate on the key runs. And so I was running once or twice a week, and I was only concentrating on those one or two runs. Now, here's what I know is, I was not in shape to be able to run a great time, but I was in shape enough to finish the race. I did. I finished the marathon, and I finished pain-free. And here's the crazy thing is, over time, my shin splints got better and better. So I know people who will completely stop running, and then they'll suffer injury a lot of times because they've gotten completely out of it. But on the other side, then you have people who won't stop in the first place. I think there's two ways to go here. I think it's knowing what the injury is, and the reality is it's called that injury cycle for a reason, is because usually once you start, you're going to get the same injury, or you're going to get hit with another injury because you're overcompensating. So I think it is important. By the way, I'm still just laughing at this gift. So I cannot.
This has completely changed what I do on Blab now. So yes. I'm going to continue to put this in. Yeah, and they mentioned. So how do you know if you're doing too much? So if you're training too much, and they're using the Dr. Pain 0 through 10 scale, where 0 is you feel great and 10 is you're going to die. And I believe in this study that Runners Connect mentioned is you should run up until a 5 out of 10 on the pain scale. Yeah. So not to exceed that. So that's kind of a good mark, knowing how to not push yourself too much, but still getting out there and improving.
Yeah, because there is a point where, depending upon your injury, this is where I always say go talk to your doctor and see what they say, and try and make sure it's a guy who does some running and is a running doctor. Because I know when I was battling plantar fasciitis, the guy who I was with, he was like, "Hey, I would recommend you running through this. You're going to be okay. Here's the exercise you need to do in the meantime. But in your case, he's like, I would run through this. He said, you want to back off the mileage some and do these exercises. He said, you'll get better. And it did. And so a lot of times it's catching these things early on enough in the process and knowing, hey, is this something that is going to be good enough for me to run through a little bit? Because look, when he told me to run through, here's what I didn't do. I didn't go increase my mileage by 30 miles a week. No, I ran at the appropriate mileage he told me that I should be running at. I cut back on any speed work possible, made it all easy runs, did my exercises. I think if you're smart, you have to be smart. If you're smart, a lot of these running injuries you can still go through.
That's true. And just as a word of warning, and they mentioned it too, they're not doctors. And so they said some of the, it's a good idea to run through some injuries, but like a stretch fracture, you're just going to hurt yourself even more. So make sure you're talking to a doctor, but a 5 out of 10 is a good kind of benchmark to start out. So,
and if you're running in the snow, watch your footing, because this has been a game changer. I'm sorry, keep watching this. It's like a train wreck.
So good. Yeah, we're going to continue to use those.
Go to Blab and check this out.
Go to Blab and check it out. So that is the December news for 2015. So this is our last episode for this year. So we'll be coming back in January of next year, and we enjoyed having you guys on the podcast with us here today.
Yeah, news headline is going to be how Brandon Cullum won the Disney World Marathon.
Yeah,
that's going to be that'll be our headline for January, correct?
Trey is trying to qualify for Boston, so I'm sure we'll talk about that.
I'm sure we probably will. That'll be fun.
Thank you guys. If you guys want to check out these articles, make sure to go to connectrunclub.com/rundown.
Thanks, guys. Happy New Year.
Adios.